I want it to be valuable from reality. I want it to help you actually succeed, even if sometimes the questions that you ask yourself, they might kind of suck, they might kind of sting, they might not create the answers that you want. I would rather you have that level of clarity genuinely, because that's helped me a ton as well. Podcast Growth Nation, welcome back to another episode of Podcast Growth University, where we talk all things podcasting all the time. I hope you enjoyed the latest episode number 65, the best way to schedule your recordings so you never miss an episode. Today, for episode number 66, 3 questions early podcasters need to ask themselves. At this point, I think I have over 2,000 coaching calls, and each one of those is at least an hour, sometimes a little bit more. So I've coached a lot of people for a long period of time, and I've learned so many amazing lessons. I've messed up a lot of calls. I've crushed a lot of calls. I've just learned. There's a lot of opportunity for growth in that. And these 3 questions I really wish I started asking new clients sooner, because I think it really helps us get to the honest truth of how successful somebody is going to be. It cuts right through the BS, and it's just, hey, let's be honest with each other. What is this journey actually going to look like for you, and how can I add value? So let's just get right into it. These are the 3 questions that I ask all new podcasters, all new clients, many of which are new podcasters. And I think it would be valuable for all of us to ask ourselves these questions. Okay, number 1, what are my actual goals? I've been in many Facebook groups where people say, well, I'm going to give it to episode number 50, and if something doesn't happen, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm very curious to what something means. What do we mean by if something doesn't happen? Is it if you don't get a certain amount of downloads? Is it if you don't get a certain amount of clients, get on other shows, whatever it may be? What is that justification? What is that measurement? So what are your actual specific goals? That is question number 1. It can be a money goal. It can be a listen goal. It can be a certain amount of guests. It can be whatever means something to you. Why did you start this in the first place? And what is a good short-term, mid-range, and long-term goal for that? Question number 2. This is the second question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much time, energy, effort, and focus are you willing to put into your podcast? This is a very, very important question, because this is where the rubber hits the road. I have had some clients who say, I want this to be my full-time job. I want to do exactly what you guys are doing. I will put in however much time it takes. I will put in all the energy I have. I will stay hyper-focused, and I will put in all the effort. I have other clients who say, honestly, I don't really want to do any more work than recording the episode. So I'm okay with getting whatever result that brings me. Imagine going into something knowing the amount of effort you're willing to put in, because that's going to dictate the results you get. I heard an advertisement today. I very rarely listen to the radio, but I was only driving a short distance, and I was like, I'm just going to listen to sports talk radio for a minute. And one of the ads was something along the lines of, if you have 25 pounds to lose, you can do it by Halloween. And as of the recording of this episode, it is September 27th. So Halloween is roughly 4 weeks away. That means you'd have to lose 6 pounds a week for the next 4 weeks to lose your 25 pounds. That's almost a pound a day. That's not realistic for most of us, right? So I'm in a diet right now. I'm in a cut phase, as bodybuilders call it, and I'm aiming for a pound a week, not a pound a day. I can't lose a pound a day. I don't have that much weight to lose. That is a suggestion of, it kind of sets people up for failure, because that's just saying, you know what? I'm really not willing to put in that much effort, is kind of what that's saying is, I want 25 pounds, but I don't want to have to put that much time, energy, effort, or focus into it. It kind of sets people up for failure. I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to be able to be honest with yourself and say, well, I want some big goals, but I'm not willing to put that much effort in. Is that realistic? That's really the point of these 3 questions. And this is the big one here at the end. Number 3, what am I willing to do and what am I absolutely not willing to do to get my goal? All I mean by that is I have some clients who have no interest in coaching. It's going to be a lot harder for them to monetize their podcast. I have other clients who don't want to go on other people's shows unless they're bigger than their show, unless they have 1,000 downloads per episode or whatever it may be. I think that's a mistake. I do, because you're not going to get a lot of those opportunities, and you need to practice. And I think at times it can be a little entitled to look at things that way. I only do shows that are bigger than mine. It's like, okay, well, what if your guests thought the same way? It might be a little bit harder to get guests. And again, I might be biased on that because I'll go on any show. I like adding value and I like to practice. But if you're not willing to do certain things, you're not going to be able to get the result in the way that you want. And if you just came out and admitted that in the beginning, I think we would be better off. I really think we'd be better off. There might be something where you say, I'm willing to put level 10 time, level 10 energy, level 10 focus, level 10 effort to get the result, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes within reason. But maybe it's not the podcast. Maybe it's something else. At least knowing that at the very beginning would create more clarity. But I think what this does more than anything else is it helps you figure out whether or not your goals are accurate. So are you setting accurate goals based on your awareness? Because if your expectations are off, going back to an episode we did a while ago, if your expectations are off, everything else is going to be off. So if your expectations are off, your approach might be off. And if your approach is off, your time perspective of how long it will take is off. And I think that's why a lot of us end up feeling stuck. So be very honest with yourself. Let's take action here. Be very honest with yourself. What are your top 3 goals with the podcast? You could say right now, I want to get more listens, I want to make more money, and I want to feel like a more confident speaker. Okay, awesome. Those are all measurable. Love it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much time, energy, effort, and focus are you currently / willing to put in? And if you say, I'm not willing to put any more than I'm currently putting in, that could be a barrier. Or we have to figure out how to get more done in less time. That's a deeper conversation. We can have that behind the scenes if you want. But it all depends, right? This is very specific. And then what am I willing to do or not? A lot of the reasons around why certain people aren't growing their shows, it's because they're not willing to do the stuff that everybody else is doing. Now, I'm not saying you should do everything that everybody else is doing. I know people that pay to be in Forbes magazine. I know people that lie about the amount of listens that they have. I'm not talking about stuff like that. That's why I always say within alignment. What's aligned for you? For me, it's not, I'm not going to pay to be on someone's show. I'm not going to pay to get my name in a magazine. That's just not the way I want to do it. If that's aligned for you, you do you. No judgment on that. It's just not the way I choose to do it.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. So last year I wanted to quit everything. I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to hang up my microphone. And Kevin said no. Kevin said, keep going, Jen. You've got this. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I did. Coaches need coaches, y'all. And working with Kevin has been one of the best experiences of my life. Oh my God, I'm crying. Kevin, you are the best. I could not do this without you. And thank you. Thank you for being you and the amazing human that you are.
But when I say, what am I willing to do? What are you willing to do or not? I'm saying, are you willing to send 3 messages a day to try to get on a podcast? Are you willing to send 3 messages a day to try to get a high-level guest? Are you willing to build a new relationship with a listener every single day? Are you willing to coach for $50 an hour in the beginning, even though you feel like you're worth $250 an hour? I had a client call recently with someone who's new to coaching, and he said, I'm thinking the lowest I'll go is $50 an hour. He's like, I'd like to get to $250 an hour, but I also know nobody's going to pay that yet. I love that mindset. I think that is an amazing mindset to have. It's very humble. It's not entitled. And what that really says to me is that person is willing to be humble and eat dirt for a little while in order to get their coaching legs under them. I started coaching for free in the very beginning, and I did that for a minute. And then it was $50 a call and $75 a call. And then it ended up going up to $150 a call. And then we ended up building different packages and all that stuff. But times have changed. Things have changed. In the very beginning, what am I willing to do? It was, I will coach for free. I will speak for free. I will lose money to host an event, whatever it may be, because we were very, very honest about that. I just don't want you to say, I have level 10 goals, but I'm willing to put in level 3 effort and I'm willing to do level 1 activities, because that's a recipe for disaster, frustration, and disappointment. I don't want that for you. I would rather you say, my goals, I had a client say this recently, I just want the podcast to pay for what you guys do. It's like, oh, okay. How much time, energy, and effort are you willing to put in? Whatever it takes to get that done. Okay. Are you willing to go on a bunch of other shows? Are you willing to post on social media every day? Yep, I'm willing to do both of those things. Awesome. That's going to be fine. That's just a matter of time. But if those things are misaligned at all, that's where we run into problems. So I thought this would be a very valuable episode to do, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are trying to convince us no matter what your goals are, they can teach you how to do it with less time, energy, effort, focus, intention, grit, perseverance, resilience, hard work. When in reality, I just don't think that's true. I really don't. I don't mean this from an arrogant way. I mean this from a very humble but accurate way of thinking. I would argue that most clients will never get the same level of results that we have, because most of them aren't willing to put in the same amount of insane effort we have. Understandably, because they have other businesses and they have other stuff to do. They don't have to put in as much time because they're not actually trying to get the result that we are. And if you just think about that, it's probably the same for you in some way, shape, or form. If you have really good results in an area of life, I'm willing to bet that a lot of other people aren't ever going to get those same results because they're not willing to do what you did for as long as you did and the way you did, as consistently as you did, setting boundaries and all that stuff. So I don't mean that from a negative ego place. If you've listened, I hope that comes across. That's not my goal. But it is one of those things of, well, a lot of the stuff I'm telling you to do, you're saying you're not going to do. There's no way you're going to get to where we are. No way. Now, if you don't want that, that's totally fine. If you do want that, that's a deeper conversation. And then the last thing I'll say, and maybe if you're a coach, these are a good set of questions for you to ask yourself, because it'll limit the amount of people you scare away. I've had many people who I've intuitively known I can't push them. I shouldn't be pushing this person. Don't push this person. Don't push this person, because their goals are not giant. They enjoy having the podcast. They have clients. They're making enough money, not a life-changing amount of money. They're not going to do it full time, but that's not why they started. So understanding your goals are super important, because then you're going to figure out if you're disappointed, maybe it's because the reality is not meeting up to your goals. If you're super excited, maybe the reality is exceeding your goals. And then you can re-clarify new goals, because the goals dictate time, energy, and effort, as well as what am I willing to do versus not willing to do. So I hope this was valuable. I thought this would make a good episode just because I wish I started asking people this sooner, but I did ask myself this at the beginning. What are my goals to have the most successful self-improvement company humanly possible? That's really what we're playing for. How much time, energy, and effort, however much it takes. And then what am I willing to do or not? As much hard work as humanly possible, that's in alignment. That's in alignment. So I was on 13 other podcasts last week, and we did 8, right? So I did 21 shows last week. That's a lot of podcasts to be on in a week, but that's what it will take for us to accomplish our goal. And this is my full-time job, so I understand circumstances are a little bit differently. So if your time, energy, and effort, as well as what you're willing to do versus not, aren't aligned with your goals, unfortunately, the goals might not end up coming true. And I want to be honest and transparent when it comes to stuff like this, because I want this this podcast to be valuable, but I want it to be valuable from a place of truth. I want it to be valuable from reality. I want it to help you actually succeed, even if sometimes the questions that you ask yourself, they might kind of suck, they might kind of sting, they might not create the answers that you want. I would rather you have that level of clarity genuinely because that's helped me a ton as well. As always, if you want to book a free 30-minute podcast breakthrough session, we will have the link in the show notes. Bring whatever questions you got. I think I did 4 this week or 5 this week already, and it's Wednesday as of this recording. I'd love to chat. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to answer any questions you have. Maybe you want someone to say what you're doing is right on. You're doing a really good job. I notice you. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe you want a gentle redirection. Either way, we can accomplish that on a free 30-minute podcast breakthrough session. Next week, we're going to go a little bit coaching focused. So for episode number 67, one big reason you're not getting clients. I've had a lot of these conversations recently with my clients. So I want to bring that to you because if you're a podcaster, maybe you're in some sort of genre that offers coaching within the business. Let's talk a little bit about that tomorrow. And then if it gets good feedback and it looks like people are enjoying that and listening to that episode, I can always do more content around the business sales side of stuff. I just want to make sure that's valuable to you, whether you're watching or listening. As always, I appreciate you all very much. I hope your podcasts are fruitful. I hope your speaking feels seamless. I hope your interviews are going amazing. I hope your social media following is noticing the amazing work that you're doing. And until next week, keep on podcasting, keep on crushing it. And I appreciate you all very much.